You have a new message from an ancient treasure. The Western Zhou dynasty often held various activities to reward officials. One such bureaucrat of the time was Li, who was very happy to receive a gift of bronze from King Wu of Zhou. He had the rare bronze made into a round-mouthed food vessel, or a gui, hence the object's name of Li Gui. Li was a yusi, or a department manager at that time. The Li Gui has a rather plain appearance, but it is considered an important piece of bronzeware owned by the Chinese state. What precious secret could such a vessel hide?
这里是中国国家博物馆地下2层古代中国基本陈列，我是国家博物馆的讲解员袁硕。长久以来，咱们中国的学者一直对史书上的记载有所怀疑，其中最经典的一个例子，莫过于史记中对牧野之战的记载。司马迁在史记中描述的，当周武王讨伐商纣王时，殷商王朝竟然组织起了70万人的作战队伍。
Considering the population and dispatch abilities of more than 3,000 years ago, this number seemed too exaggerated. Even regarding the exact timing of the battle, over 44 different conclusions were suggested.
辉煌伟大的周王朝是什么时候建立的？我们之前竟然都没能得出一个清晰的结论，这实在是太让人遗憾了。好在青铜礼柜出土了。
Gui were ancient vessels used to serve cooked staple grains. Due to the rigid hierarchy of the Western Zhou dynasty, some vessels used for sacrifices and banquets were given special meanings and became symbols of ritual systems. This phenomenon is known as rituals contained in utensils. In sacrificial ceremonies, feasts, and funerals, the emperor used 9 tripods and 8 gui, while the feudal princes used 7 tripods and 6 gui, and senior officials used 5 tripods and 4 gui. Lower echelons were unauthorized to make use of them at all in this manner. In the 3,000 years since, so-called rites and music has become the ideological standard and code of conduct of the Chinese. This also led to the idea of the modern Chinese nation being a state of rites and music. Therefore, as a ritual vessel for the nobility of the Western Zhou dynasty, gui themselves were common. The reason why Li Gui is so precious is that the 30-character inscription at the bottom refers to the date of the Zhou's conquest of the Shang. The inscription begins, King Wu attacked the Shang. It was the morning of Jiazi Day, and Sui was at its zenith. Jiazi is the first day of Chinese era. Sui was an ancient name for the planet Jupiter. On that day, Jupiter reached its highest point in the sky. Firstly, experts adopt the carbon-14 dating method to test the carbon samples unearthed in the remains of the early Western Zhou dynasty. Then they were able to frame the period of 1050 BC to 1020 BC, during which the campaign of King Wu took place. Based on both the inscription, Sui was at its zenith, as well as historical texts regarding ancient celestial phenomena, as recorded in discourses of the states. Astronomers pinpointed the conquest to a specific date, January 20th, 1046 BC. Thus, this historical mystery was finally solved. Li Gui therefore is highly important, since it marks the boundary between the Shang and Zhou dynasties.
当然，对于这30多字铭文的解读，一些学者也提出了自己的异议。只能说，目前我们只是暂时得到了一个大体上还算认同的说法。如果我们要想得到最终的定论，恐怕还需要进一步的发掘和研究。
Actually, for an ordinary person who is not engaged in academic research, the joy is to know when the Zhou overthrew the Shang. In light of continuous texts of thousands of years, it is that through a cultural relic and 30-plus words, we can communicate with the ancestors of more than 3,000 years ago. The upper part of the gui is like a modern version of the bowl, which still serves as a food container. We hold it in our hands and also in our hearts. You have more new messages waiting.